So today I will talk about spherical polar coordinate system. Spherical polar coordinate system. So in the beginning lectures I talked about various types of coordinate system, and among that spherical polar coordinate system is also there. So, and as I discussed in the earlier lectures that when an object is supposed to move, means when an object is supposed to move, is supposed move on the surface of a sphere, then we will prefer to use spherical polar coordinates suppose say this is a earth, and if something is supposed to move over the surface of a earth, then we will prefer to use the spherical polar coordinates, right? As I discussed also in the earlier lecture. So generally these coordinates are represented by r, theta and phi. R, theta and phi, these are the spherical polar coordinates, and in Cartesian coordinate system we generally prefer x, y and z. So let me first of all briefly talk about that what is r, what is theta and what is phi. So let us talk about r. And also another thing which I want to discuss with you is that suppose I'm having that how it leads to a sphere. So suppose say this is a paper with me, and say this is a radial vector. I draw a radial vector, and this particular radial vector, if it is rotated like this, then it makes a semicircle. So this is the semicircle which I am getting out of it. So that means this distance is the r, and for a particular surface of a sphere, and when I say cut it into like this, then I am getting a semicircle. So this is the semicircle which I am getting. Just a minute, let me show it to you. Say this is a semicircle. This distance is from here to here, it is r, and when r is rotated from here to here, means in this state, say it is rotated in this way, means from this side to this side, when it keep on rotating, then what I am getting? I am getting a semicircle, right? I am getting a semicircle, and here r is rotated from 0 degree to 180 degrees, right? So r is rotated from 0 to, say this is r, and when it is rotated like this, then I am getting a semicircle. So that means this varies from 0 to r, and where r, this is r, and r varies from 0 to infinity. This is the range of r, and say it is rotated through like this, it keep on rotating like this and so on, and it varies from, say, from 0 to pi. So that means this angle, this is known as theta, and theta varies from 0 to pi. And another thing is that when this semicircle is rotated like this, and it will gives us a sphere, means when this semicircle is rotated from 0 to 2 pi, then we will get a sphere, right? So this is it. So it means when it is rotated like this, say, then I am getting a sphere. So that means this new angle with which the semicircle is rotated is known as phi. So let me briefly talk about these r, theta and phi separately here. So first of all, let me talk about r. So r is basically a radial distance. R is basically a, so r is a radial distance, right? So, and it varies from 0 to infinity. It is its variation. So let me now talk about that, what is theta and phi. But first of all, let me draw this. So suppose there is a coordinate system. First of all, I will draw a Cartesian coordinate system. Say this is a Cartesian coordinate system. This is x-axis, this is y-axis, and say this is z-axis. And here there is a, this is radial vector, and this is r. And the unit vector of this radial vector is this one, and let me call it as r cap. Now suppose, and suppose this r is making an angle theta with z axis, right? So let me talk about now theta. So what is theta? So theta is the angle formed by r vector with positive z axis and is called co-latitude angle or zenith angle. And it varies from 0 to pi, as I discussed here. Now let me talk about what is this phi. So it is basically the angle between two planes. So what are the two planes which I am considering here? So that means one is the plane in which this r is sitting. This r is sitting. So let me draw that plane here. And another plane is the YZ plane, sorry, yeah, ZX plane. So first of all, let me do one thing. Uh, this is the plane in which this R is lying, shown by red color. This is the plane, right? So first plane is plane containing, it's a plane containing R vector. So it is the plane in which this R vector is lying. And this plane is perpendicular to XY plane. And let us draw another plane. That plane is this one. So yeah, let us do one thing. This is XY plane, presented by black color for XY plane, and this red color for plane containing R vector. And there is another plane which I am drawing right now. That plane is like this. Right. So this is represented by this blue color. It's a XZ plane. So the angle between these two planes, it's the one is the XZ plane or ZX plane, and the other plane is this one which is containing, this is known as phi, right? This is known as phi. So phi is the angle between two planes. First plane is this which contains R, and what is second plane? Second plane is the ZX plane. It is the ZX plane, and this angle is known as azimuthal angle. This angle is known as azimuthal angle, and it varies from 0 to 2 pi, right? That's what you know. So let us try to draw now what we call a sphere, that how sphere is formed. Suppose this is our Cartesian coordinate system. Let me draw it first of all. This is my coordinate system, and let me draw this also with the dotted line. This is y-axis, this is x-axis, this is y-axis, and say this is z-axis, and say there is a radial vector, and a radial vector is keep on rotating from here to here. Let us do one thing. Yeah. So that means this is my radial vector. This is my radial vector, and I rotated this radial vector like this, and I got a sphere. This is my radial vector which I am drawing here. This is radial vector, and it is making an angle here. At this point this is making angle theta, and when it becomes here it will become different angle at this point, and so on. Here it is 90 and here it is 180 degrees. So theta varies from 0 to pi. So what will happen, basically this forms a plane, and when this particular plane is rotated, it's rotated like this up to 0 to 380 degree, we will get a sphere, right? So this gets rotated, so its rotation gives rise to what? It gives rise to the a sphere, which we have to keep in mind, right? So here I briefly talked about that how we will get a different coordinates and how and what they represent. Let me now briefly talk about the unit cells, and it is in the counterclockwise direction. It is in the counterclockwise direction. So now say the point is at this point here, and this r is pointing towards this direction. At this point, when particle is at this point, then it is pointing in this direction, right? And say it is the unit vector along this way. Now it is moving like this. So when it is moving like this, say angle theta is bearing in this direction. So that means if I draw a tangent at this point, then this unit vector is known as what? It is known as the angle in which theta cap is advancing, or theta vector is advancing. So it is known as theta cap. Similarly, and if it is going like this, that means there is a, if I draw a like this another, because phi is advancing in this direction, and if I draw a tangent at this point, then this is known as phi cap. So these are the certain things which we have to remember. So r cap is the, show the direction of r vector or the direction of r, and theta cap is the direction in which theta is moving, and phi is cap is the direction in which phi is rather than moving, I can call it as changing, and phi is changing, direction in which phi is changing, phi direction in which phi is changing. Basically when particle moves from this point to this point, say particle is sometime at this point, and after some time particle reaches at this point, say particle reaches at this point, then what will happen? Then the particle will become, particle is represented by this r. So r changes and theta changes from this to this, so theta will become this angle right now. So now at this point r cap is along this direction, and this theta is basically, it is like this, so it is theta cap, and phi is also changing. So now this plane has been changed. This has become the plane. When this will become a plane, that means it has become like this. So phi changes from here to here. So at this point it goes like this, so it goes like this. So phi cap is along this direction. So that means as particle moves on the surface of a sphere, what is going on? R theta phi caps, they are also changing. So that means unit vectors also keep on changing. But when I'm sitting in the Cartesian coordinate system, then I, j and k caps are not changing, they remains the same. But here another interesting thing that is going on, here r remains the same, here r remains the same, means there is a difference between Cartesian coordinate system. There is a difference between Cartesian coordinate system, let us have a look at that, and the spherical polar coordinate system. Cartesian and spherical, these are the two coordinate systems about which I am talking about here. So one is this one and another is this one. So in this I, j and the k cap, they are not changing, but x, y and z are changing as particle moves. But here r cap, theta cap and phi cap, they changes as particle moves. But for a particular sphere, particular surface of a sphere, r is constant. Its direction is changing, but its magnitude will remain the same, and theta phi will also change. But theta and phi will also change. So this is a very important thing which we have to keep in mind in context of the Cartesian and the spherical polar coordinates. So I think that's all for today, and in the next lecture I will briefly talk about that how spherical and Cartesian coordinates are related to each other. So that's all for today.